Hello everyone and welcome. Today we're going to be jumping onto the Druid class to showcase what I believe is the best Druid build in the game and definitely one of the best builds in the entire game across all classes, and that is going to be the Shear Druid. Now the Shear Druid is pretty simple in concept. It takes advantage of the aspect called Calm Breeze, which applies a nice poison damage over time whenever Shear hits, and this can be stacked up and scaled crazy to make sure that you're hitting in the millions per tick of damage. As you can see, most of my gear is not even Masterwork past 4, with the rest not even being Masterwork past 8, so please keep that in mind when watching the build and judging the power of it. And also, the idea rolls for each piece of gear will be in the description in the planner. Starting off on the helmet, we're using Aspect of Might with Willpower, Max Life, Armor, Debilitating Raw Duration, and Lucky Hit Chance to Stun for 2 seconds. Moving on to the chest piece, we are using Undying with Willpower, Max Life, Max Armor, Debilitating Raw Duration, and then again, Lucky Hit Chance to Stun for 2 seconds. On our gloves, we're using Edge Masters for the 20% increase to damage with Max Life, Attack Speed, Damage over time, Damage to distant enemies, and Lucky Hit Chance to Stun. Our pants, we have Willpower, Max Life, Impairment Reduction, Max Life, Chance to Freeze, and then obviously Hectic. On our boots, we are using Shared Misery with Willpower, Max Life, Movement Speed, Chance to Stun, Movement Speed again. Now Shared Misery, I found the higher I went in tiers, the more this became useful, but you can also use Concussive Strikes or even Metamorphosis in this slot. And then for our weapon, we're using a 2-hand staff with Willpower, Max Life, Damage over time, Damage to distance, and then most importantly, chance for Shear projectiles to be cast twice. Ideally, you want this to be your Masterwork stat to get it above 100, but right now we're at 81, and then we're using Moonrise as our aspect. For our amulet, we're using Calm Breeze with damage, attack speed, resist to all elements, damage to distance, and then movement speed. Ideally, the plain damage roll would be damage over time or a plus to skill. That would be good for us, but this is all I could get at the time. And then our first ring, we have damage, attack speed, damage over time, companion cooldown, and damage to distant. We have rapid on this ring. The companion cooldown reduction doesn't matter here. We just needed a second stat. And then same thing goes for our second ring, where we have Max Life, Attack Speed, Damage over time, Wolves cooldown, and damage to distant enemies. We are also using adaptability here. For our boons, we have Wariness for 15% reduced damage from elites, Swooping Attacks for 10% attack, 14% max life from Iron Feather, Bolster to fortify 15% of our max life when we use a defensive skill, and then Masochistic to get a bit of healing when we are shapeshifted. Now you can use something else here, but nothing really worked for this build. Maybe if you're using a different skill and using an ult such as Petrify, Calm Before the Storm might be good, but Overload and Obsidian Slam don't do anything for us, so Masochistic is the only choice. Moving on to skills. For a slower breakdown of the skills, please check the planner, but you can see that we are grabbing Shear here. Points here do not increase our damage, so we're not dumping points into it to get more. Then we're just grabbing some crit chance, some movement speed, and then some damage reduction with Iron Fur. Then we're grabbing Cyclone Armor for passive damage reduction, moving on to Blood Howl for a little bit of healing and attack speed, Debilitating Roar for a massive damage reduction buff, and then we're grabbing these two passives to give us some survivability. We got Wolves to give us some Fortify. Wolves can be swapped out for an ult such as Petrify, and then we're grabbing Nature's Reach for an awesome damage buff. Moving on down, we just have 1 into Trample to break CC and become unstoppable. It's pretty useful. It is our only real source here, but you can swap this for something like Bulwark. Then we're grabbing Defiance, Natural Disaster, as well as Resonance. Personal preference, I have Defensive Posture and Nature's Resolve, but these points can be moved around as needed. And then lastly, we have Quick Shift and Heightened Senses. And then our capstone is Ursine Strength. This can be swapped for Bestial Rampage, which will give you overall more DPS, but it makes the build more clunky to play. That's why I stick with Ursine Strength. Now moving on to Paragon, I must remind you, please check the planner in the description for a more detailed breakdown. But just to show you quickly, starting from the first tile, we are using Territorial, followed by Tracker, then Earth and Sky, followed by Keeper, then into Bane, and then lastly in the last place we are grabbing Human and exiting to grabbing Heightened Senses at the end, but please check the planner for a more detailed breakdown of the Paragon board. The ideal elixir is Elixir of Advantage, especially if you have not reached the attack speed cap. you can check all the stats on screen right now, but you can see I have 61.5%. So using the Elixir of Advantage will definitely benefit me because I'm under that 90% breakpoint, which is the maximum we can really get to for this build. But if you have more attack speed than I do on your gear, you don't need to use Advantage and rather use something like Fortitude or Elixir of Holy Bolts, which is currently bugged and will help you clear things very, very easily. Elixir of Advantage also gives us lucky hit chance, which obviously coincides with all our lucky hit procs that we have on all pieces of our armor, so this is a good choice overall. But that's basically going to be it for all the stats. You can see me running over everything here, and of course we're going to have some gameplay following now. If you guys do have any questions, please leave them down below. I'm just going to start off here with a tier 100 Nightmare Dungeon, which for this build is extremely easy. But I do urge you to stick around because after this T100 I do have a tier 80 pit gameplay, and even that is not too difficult for the build. You can see I really don't have any issues in it. I have pushed this build to tier 95 and so far so good. I do think I'll be able to get above 100 with it pretty comfortably, considering it's extremely tanky and has extreme damage scaling with all its multipliers. But I am going to leave you guys with the gameplay and only really comment over places that need explanation. So this will be a good time to say thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please consider liking and subscribing, and until next time, farewell.
Wait a moment. I'm not ready. I'm not ready yet.
Now with this boss fight, you can see we have a blast wave shrine, although I purposefully do avoid the boss to make sure we don't get any added damage from this. So please, no comments saying I killed the boss with the blast wave. It didn't touch him at all. But you can see that the build is pretty comfortable clearing, especially a boss like Mother's Judgment that really doesn't move around too much and lets us just attack brainlessly. He's pretty much cooked. Now moving on to the T80 pit. Obviously these guys are much higher level now, so we need to play a bit more carefully and think about what we're doing. And obviously the elites and the boss will take a bit more time, but you'll see that throughout this gameplay we really don't have an issue clearing things out. And I think this was a 6-minute run, so we're pretty comfortable running these in about 6 minutes now. Guys, if you made it all the way to the end here and just finished watching me cook Bramble, got absolutely smacked around, please consider leaving a comment with the word Ineffable so I know you're one of the real ones. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.